Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most electrifying journeys in American coin collecting history. Get ready, because we're about to uncover 100 Lincoln Wheat Pennies from 1941 through 1971. Coins that may look ordinary in your old change jar, but could actually be hiding jaw-dropping treasures worth a small fortune. Some of these pennies carry shocking stories, hidden errors, and values so high, they leave even veteran collectors stunned. Imagine finding a single worn cent that turns out to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the thrill we're chasing today. So sit tight, stay sharp, and don't blink, because the next coin could be the one that changes everything. And before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Us Mint Mysteries so you never miss another rare coin discovery that might just be sitting in your pocket. A complete book of Lincoln Wheat Pennies, running from 1941 through 1971. At first glance, they might look like simple copper cents, tucked away in albums or resting in dusty jars. But behind those tiny coins lie stories of history, war, scarcity, mistakes, and hidden gems worth staggering amounts of money. These aren't just pennies. Some are life-changing finds. Imagine pulling out a coin you thought was worth a cent, only to discover it's a six-figure rarity. That's the power of this series. So lean in, watch carefully, and don't miss a second, because each year holds secrets that could turn a forgotten penny into a collector's fortune. And before we start, make sure you subscribe to Us Mint Mysteries so you never miss another unbelievable discovery that could be sitting right in your own pocket. Let's begin our journey with the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin marks the first year in our album, a humble copper cent that came at the dawn of America's involvement in World War II. Abraham Lincoln still stares proudly from the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909. His portrait remained unchanged, and the reverse still carried those famous twin wheat stalks that gave the series its nickname. By 1941, the mint had been striking these coins for more than 3 decades, but this particular year holds special weight for collectors. Over 187 million of these pennies were minted across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. That might sound like a lot, and indeed it was. But what makes 1941 stand out are the conditions and the errors. The Philadelphia Mint struck the largest share without a mint mark. Denver carried the small d below the date, and San Francisco added the S in average circulation. These coins may fetch only a few cents above face value, but when you move into higher grades, the story changes dramatically. A brilliant, uncirculated 1941D in shimmering red copper can easily reach into the thousands. In fact, a top-graded example sold for over $35,000 at auction, and values have only climbed as older collectors hunt for pristine survivors. That's already shocking, but we're only scratching the surface. Where things really get exciting are the errors. The 1941 double die obverse is one of the most thrilling in the series. On some examples, the date and the word liberty appear with a bold doubling, visible even without magnification. A circulated piece might still bring several $100s, while a sharp, uncirculated example can explode in value past $20,000. Imagine that a single penny in your grandfather's jar turning into a down payment on a house. And then there are off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and repunched mint marks, each one a tiny mechanical accident that now carries massive collector appeal. The condition of a 1941 penny makes all the difference. Most found in circulation are dark brown and worn down, worth maybe a few cents to $1. But if you stumble on one in brilliant red uncirculated condition, you're suddenly in rare air. PCGs and NGC have graded a handful at the very top, and those command prices that shock even veteran coin dealers. Picture holding what looks like an ordinary cent, only to find out it's valued at over $50,000. That's the kind of thrill this coin delivers. Collectors often ask, how do you know if your 1941 penny is valuable? The answer lies in 3 key details. First, check for mint marks. S and D mint examples can be scarcer in higher grades. Second, look for the famous double die or other striking errors. And third, condition is king. The redder, brighter, and more flawless the coin, the higher the value climbs, often exponentially. So, what makes the 1941 penny valuable? It's the combination of history, timing, condition, and those dramatic minting mistakes. It bridges an era, leading into the war years when copper would soon be rationed, and steel cents would temporarily replace it. That connection alone gives it importance. But add in the fact that a coin minted for just 1 cent can now be worth tens of thousands, and you have the perfect storm of collectability. And that, my friends, is only the very first year of this magnificent book. If the 1941 can shock us with values soaring past $50,000, just imagine what lies ahead as we turn to the next year. The year 1943 brought one of the most dramatic changes in American coinage history. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, which for decades had been struck in beautiful copper, suddenly appeared in a brand new form made out of steel coated with zinc. Why? Because World War II demanded copper for ammunition, wiring, and vital military equipment. The mint had no choice but to conserve that precious metal. So, for one remarkable year, our familiar penny turned a silvery gray. The 1943 steel wheat penny is perhaps the most famous oddity in all of U.S. coinage. Instantly recognizable and forever tied to the war years. At first glance, the 1943 steel cent looks like a dime, catching the light with the strange shine never seen before on a Lincoln penny. But while hundreds of millions were made, very few survived without the problems that plagued them. The zinc coating was thin, and the steel core rusted easily. Most coins today appear spotted, pitted, or discolored. Finding one in high-grade condition, with blazing luster and no corrosion, is extremely rare, and collectors are willing to pay big money for it. A circulated steel cent may fetch only a few cents to $1, but when you leap into the top grades, values climb rapidly. A pristine 1943 Philadelphia issue in brilliant uncirculated red and silver can bring thousands, with some of the very finest examples selling for more than $30,000. That's right, $30,000 for a coin once struck by the billions. But the real thrill comes with the mistakes. A tiny number of 1943 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets from 1942. These are the legendary 1943 bronze cents, among the rarest and most valuable coins in the entire Lincoln series. Only a handful exist, and every time one comes to auction, the price stuns the collecting world. One example sold for over $450,000, while another crossed the $1 million mark. Imagine looking into an old penny jar and discovering a 1943 bronze cent. That one coin could change your entire life. Now, it's narrow in on the 1943s. Struck at the San Francisco Mint, with its small S mark below the date, this coin has a special charm. The San Francisco Mint always had smaller mintages than Philadelphia, and although millions of 1943s pennies were made, they're far scarcer in top condition. Collectors know this, and values reflect it. A typical worn example might only bring a few dollars, but a shining red, uncirculated 1943s can fetch thousands. The very finest known have crossed $25,000 at auction, a jaw-dropping number for a coin most Americans once treated as pocket change. On top of that, the 1943s has its own rare double die varieties and repunched mintmarks, errors that drive prices even higher. A sharp-eyed collector who spots one of these could be looking at a payday of tens of thousands of dollars. So, what makes the 1943 steel penny, and especially the 1943s, so valuable? It's not just rarity, it's the story. A nation at war, copper stripped away for bullets, the mint scrambling to create coins out of steel, and the mistakes, those elusive bronze planchets that slipped through, becoming million-dollar treasures. This is the kind of history you can hold in your hand, and it's no wonder collectors are captivated by these wartime wonders. Fast forward 3 decades to 1974, and the Lincoln cent story took another fascinating turn. By then, the wheat reverse was long gone, placed in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial design. But in 1974, the mint faced a problem. Rising copper prices meant that each penny was becoming more expensive to make than its face value. The U.S. government considered alternatives, and just like in 1943, experiments began. This time, the mint produced test cents struck not in copper, but in aluminum. Over 1 million aluminum cents were struck in 1974, but they were never officially released. Most were melted down, and only a few escaped instantly, becoming legendary rarities. The regular 1974 copper cents, struck by the billions, are common in circulation and usually worth only face value. But in uncirculated red condition, some varieties bring higher premiums, especially with double die obverses and striking errors. Yet the true shock comes from those elusive 1974 aluminum cents. They are so rare that they've been called the phantom pennies. A small handful are known to exist, and their legal status has been debated for decades. In 2014, one was offered at auction and estimated to bring over $250,000 before being withdrawn due to government claims. The fact that a 1-cent piece from 1974 could command $250,000 is almost unbelievable, but it's real. Please share and like, subscribe.